You must be at least 18 years of age to listen to the following podcast. I am Robert Black, and you are listening to Sexual Heroes. Sir Tim is driven by a belief in service and community. With his house Demusni, a reference to his leather family, he produces Guys to Groups, shame-free, mount, and deep bonding events, and he seeks to expand and unite the classic community in the digital age through Fetish Vector digital flagging. Through his company pigsolvents.com, he sponsors leather events including Palm Springs Leather Pride and Cleveland Leather Annual Weekend, better known as CLAW. Sir Tim, thank you for being on Sexual Heroes today.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
We met about, 2 months ago?
Yes. At social.
At a social gathering.
BDSM social, actually.
Yes. And I was surprised when you told me that you were the man behind an event called Mount, because I had been struggling with going to the last event that was produced because of junk going on in my head and worries, fears, but also fantasies. I'm sure a lot of my listeners have the same fantasies that I do. Can you just talk about the event?
Mount is returning to CCBC September 23rd and 24th of this year. And it will be hosted by Jake Mitchell on Friday night and Julian Torres on Saturday night. Mount is one of the Guys 2 events. So Guys 2 is the group. And this was all conceived during COVID. And we knew eventually we'd all be able to get back together again. And so when you look at Guys 2, it's GUIS number 2. But it's also Guys to gather, Guys together, and it's a way of having a shame-free, drug-free social bonding event that's styled on a Western roundup. So in the West, for years and years, there have been wranglers that go out and gather all the wild horses and pull them together. And this roundup has happened actually in the Western United States for decades. And part of it is for census and counting and corralling. And so it's part of the Bureau of Land Management does these gathers. They're horse gathers. And our notion to be a little bit different from another event that's out there was to create more of a bonding experience. So what Mount is it's a declared party. You choose whether you want to be a cowboy or whether you want to be a bronco. It's very role specific. You buy a ticket as a cowboy or a bronco. Using the notion of flagging, so we all remember hanky codes, and if we haven't, I've got a lot of stuff about hanky codes. But the old way with hanky codes in bars would be on the left meant top. On the right, if you had a hanky on the right, it would mean that you were bottom, or you were in the passive and active role if you want to go with the Greek interpretation. But when you're at our event, your wristband is on your left hand if you're a cowboy, and it's on your right hand if you are a bronco. And what we do is we do pop-up events. So our events are always held at CCBC, Cathedral City Boys Club, and it's here in Cathedral City.
For now.
Yeah. Yes. For our current base. And, granted, we've got people coming from New Jersey, from Canada that have come in for our different events. And we've had people, there's a Bears group in Chicago that is helping us cross-promote because the Bears would love to have us come out to Chicago. We've had requests to come to San Diego. So we're not on the road yet. We're still trying to figure out how to do that. And this is why we have to try and figure out how to do it is we augment the local facility. So instead of just slapping a sign up and saying, "Oh, okay, it's mount night," and you walk into the place and it doesn't look any different than it did last night, that was, whatever the party was. Mount, we bring a 600 square foot tent. It's our pop-up tent. It's completely blacked out, and it is one of our corrals. So what we're doing is we're creating 2 corrals. We have a corral, the compound corral, which at CCBC, there's an operations, kind of a sand area in back. And that's normally part of the sexual trail where people go and meet and cruise and have a good time. It's also a contained area. So we're able to put in what we call gate control. So we know we have Broncos. We know that we have Cowboys. We also have Wranglers. Those are our volunteers. We need a lot of volunteers because what Mount does is it's anonymous play. So if you're a Bronco, you agree to be blindfolded and you wear a harness that allows the cowboy to grab the scruff of your neck and the strap across your back to make sure that he's doing a really good job when he's mounting you. Or if you're on your back, it comes across your shoulders. And again, the cowboy can make sure that the bronc is being well mounted.
So it's clear already. To put it simply, if you're into anonymity, when you're getting fucked or fucking someone, it's going to hit that trigger.
Oh, absolutely. With our event, when you're not in the tent, when you're not in the corral, you might be sitting in the hot tub, glancing at a guy that has a left wristband on, and you've got your right wristband, and you're wondering, was that the guy who was pounding me for the last? And then you hear his voice, and now you're like, wait a second, I heard that voice a couple of people over from me. So let's head back into the tent, right? So you're blindfolded. You have a buff that is blocking your vision. So when you're in the corral, you have to be guided. This is where our Wranglers come in. The main corral has about 8 slings. It has 2 big fucknick tables. Fucknick tables are a picnic table with 1-inch thick padding wrapped with leather and on the benches and on the tabletop. So you can line up 4 Broncos on each side and they can comfortably be on their knees and elbows for hours.
That's hot. Now, I'm picturing this, as are my listeners right now, I hope. So if I'm on this fucknick table and I am a Bronco, I'm facing into the middle of the table. I'm kneeling on what would be the seat normally.
Right.
And there's somebody across from me.
Oh, yeah. And you're probably making out with them.
So, okay, that was my question.
Yes.
So I'm close enough. I could be making out with the other
out with the other guy.
That's pretty fucking
absolutely.
hot.
So, yeah, on the fucknick table, you don't know who it is right next to you. You may have been at the gate and requested the fucknick table because the gate wrangler, he pulls up your blindfold. You never see the inside of the tent. So your wrangler, you can say, hey, I'd like a sling, or I'd like a fucknick table, or I'd like a bang box. Bang boxes are another one of our augmentations. So it is a 32-inch square, about 24 inches off the ground. It can hold 2 bears side by side, has attachment points where you can, if somebody's into bondage, can be attached to it.
You know I'm into bondage.
I had heard that.
You had heard that.
I've been listening to a few of your seasons. So
Some of my listeners might know that. So the first thing was the slings. That's hot. That's hot. The second thing was the fucknick table.
Fucknick tables.
That sounded way better. And now this one.
Bang boxes.
That might be the one for me.
Bang boxes are all kinds of fun. And then they're also bend over tables. So this is just a regular table that has the padding on it, and you can interleave people. So it's a regular cafeteria table, so it's only 30 inches across. So now you are shoulder to shoulder with the guy across from you, and so the making out and Bronco bonding is really going hot and heavy. So we've been all around how this works, and the anonymity is a part. So one of the rules is you respect the blindfold, which means if you're a Bronco, you don't mess with it. You never touch that blindfold. If you need help, you signal for a Wrangler. So this is the second thing is respect the hand. So as a Bronco, you have control. You don't get to know who's fucking you. You can, and we also, your blindfold is either blue or yellow. If you have a yellow blindfold, it means safe sex only. And that has to be honored by the cowboys. Part of what the Wranglers are doing is keeping an eye out to make sure that the rules are being observed and that everyone is safe.
So condoms.
Condoms, yeah, condoms, exactly. And a lot of people, and if it's blue, then blue is the hanky code for fucking. So if you're wearing blue, fuck any way you like. What it means is bear is okay, but we have a number of cowboys that come and fuck with condoms because that's their choice. Yeah. You know?
There's implied consent when you become a Bronco that it's okay to fuck you.
Well, consent is, first of all, it's flipped. You're right. By buying the ticket, you've said, I consent to being blindfolded, harnessed, and to have any cowboy that wants to fuck me, fuck me. You gave consent when you bought the ticket, but you can withdraw consent. So this is where things are a bit different. As a Bronco, if you put your hand up, you put a fist in the air, a Wrangler will spot it and will come over and ask you what's going on. But what will happen first is the cowboy who's fucking you will stop. And probably the cowboy is going to ask, hey, what's going on? Do you need some help or whatever? And it could be that you're just tired. I mean, the march of the cowboys is at 8 p.m. And by the time it's 10 o'clock, you may have been being fucked for the last 2 hours nonstop.
Oh, God, I can't even imagine that.
So people need a break. A Wrangler will come over and ask, what do you need? And it could just be, I want to change corrals.
I need water.
And then
Gotta water the Broncos.
Gotta water the Broncos, absolutely. And the blindfolds are really because Broncos get spooked so easily. So we keep the blindfold on so they don't get scared by all the cowboys that are running about. You know, the last time around, we had in the main corral, the Mount Corral, there were 60 plus Broncos that were spread out across all the Fucknick tables and bang boxes and bend over table. And then in the compound corral, we had another about 45 Bronco positions down there.
Like myself, I've never been to an event like this. I've had a lot of sex fantasies that have never been fulfilled. I would imagine there are guys who are doing it for the first time who, in the fantasy in their mind was easy peasy. But once they get into position, they start having concerns and they start getting nervous and, they need comfort.
Yes. And this is why everyone's got a signal that they can use if they get a little freaked out.
Yeah. This is no time to be hitting your horse or scaring your horse or purposefully scaring them.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of what I mentioned to the cowboys is I have all of your IDs. And if you came here to hurt someone, to rape someone, to act out, you'll get arrested. And I don't mean to be a buzzkill, but that isn't why you're here. Yeah. These guys have offered themselves for your service. Treat them commensurate with the gift they've given you. Yeah.
So it's a safe way to live out a fantasy that might otherwise be more dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We've had a number of people come back. They tell us that they were worried, that there was apprehension, but they felt comfortable. The Bronco briefing gave them kind of a sense of, okay, now these guys are, their eyes watching you. The Wranglers, I mean, there's 6 to 8 Wranglers in the tent wandering around, and Wranglers, admittedly, Wranglers can fuck any Bronco they want if there are no hands up. The Wranglers are also having some fun as well, but everyone is protected, safe.
Definitely enticing to me.
Well, ticket sales are coming up.
Yeah. Anything else you would want to share about the event that you think is important for people to know?
A lot of the way we've been getting publicity has been by recruiting well-known porn stars. And I don't know if it was well understood, but when the head wrangler or the lead cowboy come into a corral, the gate wranglers are communicating with us of who's not been getting some attention. And we make sure that everyone has fun. So if I'm walking into the tent, I've got a wrangler going, this guy over here hasn't had anybody in a little bit. And, so then I'll go over and give the Broncos some love.
Oh, yourself.
Oh yeah, I'm fucking too. Are you kidding? What do you? So the reason. I mean, think about it. I have created an event where I can walk in to a tent, and people recognize my voice by the time we get to the point, because I've been doing announcements and also when they hear me, I walk through that tent and have a ball, and I have my choice of whatever Bronco I want to fuck.
Oh, well, this is a very important point. This fulfills a fantasy of your own.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The event, this event in particular, to be able to have, if the laws in our city were different, I'd own a sex club. But this gives me the ability to have a pop-up sex club once every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: my boys will. They always know where Sir is, because if they're not hearing me, they're hearing the Bronco. And the same is true. Like Jake Mitchell is, look him up on Twitter. When he's showing you some love, you're gonna feel it. And then most of the time, we can always figure out where Jake is.
You can hear it,
or Jack Dixon, or a lot of people who've been on Sexual Heroes before. And there's a second event that also goes on with guys too, called Deep. And that's the red event.
Right. That's geared towards fisting. Guys into fisting.
Yeah, exactly.
We might save that for another episode.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
You also have a site called Fet Vector. Well, it's fetvector.com. Fetish Vector, hanky codes. I looked it over, and I like hanky codes. I'm one of those guys that will go to the bar in these modern times and have a hanky in my back pocket. And then just yesterday, somebody in my Facebook feed made some disparaging comment about guys who still use hanky codes. I thought that was pretty shitty.
That is. And that would be a brown hanky.
I miss hanky codes. I think cruising and hanky codes, boy, that was a good time. I don't understand why people don't still do it. The Fetish Vector site does reflect an earlier time where hanky codes were popular, and you've made it sort of an electronic thing and updated it. Can you tell the listeners about that?
We ran out of colors. If you look at you look at some of the lists, 69 different fetishes, and some of them were blue polka dots and white stripes, and we just ran out of colors. So a lot of what's been going on lately is trying to be inclusive. What we've done with Fetish Vectors, we've expanded the traditional hanky code. So the Fetish Vector, if you go out and take a look at it, it's an arrow, and the arrow has an outer wide band and an inner smaller band that are like golden mean ratio and nicely put together, because we expect people to wear these things. So think about it. Where we got in trouble was left and right. Everyone with the hanky code, like I was saying earlier, left means dominant, active, top. Right, pocket, means submissive, bottom, or passive. Well, what if you're versatile?
Yes.
Right? So
then you got to start wearing all these flags in both pockets.
Both pockets.
That gets ridiculous.
As a tail. I mean, at what point? And pub play, right? So pub play, what hanky code is that? How do pubs signal? So signaling got complicated, and you can't show left and right in our digital world. If I'm on my phone, do I hold it with my left hand? That means I'm a top. If I'm holding it with my right hand, So what we did with the Fetish Vector, it does two things. It adds additional colors. So color combinations. We retain all the original codes. So black to black is still heavy S&M, but black to brown, it means boot play. Electro is copper to silver, conductors. But direction is what's telling you roll. So color means kink. What kink are you into? The direction that arrow is pointing is saying what you like to do about it. If the arrow is pointing up, you're top. If the arrow is pointing down, bottom. If the arrow is pointing to the left, then you are a versatile top. If it's pointing to the right, you're a versatile bottom. So it gives the ability, and we have posters that that are decoders that people can look at to see how it all works.
Well, one of the complaints about the hanky code is people always say it's ridiculous because there are so many colors. So what would you say to somebody who looks at that and said, well, this is getting pretty complicated. Like, I can't just look at this and know automatically what it means.
My husband was when I was coming up with these, he's like, really, what, you're just going to complicate things. It's like, no, I don't think I am. And here's why. Amazon rainforest, bunch of birds. Less and less all the time, but a bunch of birds. Lots of noise. But if you're a toucan, you know what the sound of the toucan looking for you is.
Oh, so you know what you're looking for.
You know what you're looking for. This gives you the ability to be seen by the person who is looking for the other side of it. It isn't an encyclopedia.
Right.
It's, I want to signal this, and someone else, wants to be seen for that. It's a way you can connect. It's not meant for people to be walking by going, oh, well, you're doing this and you like that and whatever. It's like, no, this is me. I'm looking for somebody on the other side of it.
So you're not looking for the casual observer. You're looking for the one who is going to know what it means.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you know what, so pups and handlers. I mean, that we have codes for pups and handlers. We have part of it is we're giving everyone a voice.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's true about the original hanky codes, and as the list became longer, I mean, who cares how many there are, as long as you know the ones that you're interested in.
Exactly.
That makes
if
sense.
you know your bird call, then someone else is all out there looking for it as well.
Right. These are wearable. So you create your graphic online, and then you can. How does that work?
Well, we haven't really rolled out a lot of products around it. If people are interested, they can pull the actual art and create something through a print on demand, like a Printify or something along those lines. Okay,
but aside from that, they can create an electronic graphic and put it in a profile or
absolutely. In fact, you can use the Fetish Vector site, and you can send an email to the Fetish Vector code, and it's all explained on the site.
Yeah.
But what it'll do is it will create a frame that will be the true colors of the Fetish Vector, and it will have the arrow in the correct alignment for your particular preference, and it will take your photo and put it behind that frame.
I want to talk a little bit about you. I saw you recently, and you had not one, not two, but 3 boys with you
at that time,
wearing collars. Has anyone ever called you greedy? You walk into a party and you got 3 boys with you. That's quite an entrance you make.
Well, thank you, Robert. I am sometimes at like DFA events. I'm
Desert Fetish Authority.
Desert Fetish Authority events. Like we do a Power Dynamics men's group. It's a actual discussion in people's living room about living a power dynamic life. Yeah. How does it work? And yes, when I show up with 3 boys and they're all in boots, I mean, you can picture, boy uniform for an event like this would be a pair of boots. It would be tan shorts, white t-shirt. Sir typically is in Wesco's, and I've got a vest that was made here by Off-Ramp Leathers. Paul has a lace-up vest, and I wear it everywhere. And so it's people just recognize us, and we tend to be out together. And of course, when we're running the mount events, that's who's running it. That's who helps set up the tents, is the boys. And so, yes, I know I am not greedy. Yes, I am on occasion embarrassed with the amount and the talent and the just sheer brilliance of those who have decided to choose me.
Mm-hmm. I'm also curious, what would you say is your number one kink or fetish?
I describe it as command and control. So I don't know if it's a fetish per se, but I like to say, do this, and it gets done.
Yeah.
And whether that is, I mean, I have protocols for everything. So boot worship is a set of protocol. If I'm not wearing boots because it's a different time of day, well, foot service is a protocoled way of doing things. I typically, I'm very big on, I'm counting. A lot of my behaviors, it's like on my count. So if you were in the dungeon, and yes, I have a dungeon in the Cove. Of course
you do.
Of course I do. In fact, some of the crosses at Bondage Club were actually produced in Cove Cave Dungeon. And so, yeah, if a boy is in the dungeon and he's on the starting blocks, the X's and L's on the floor, because when you come in, you are on your knees and elbows with your ass in the air, your head down, because it puts you in a position and a headspace to realize where you are and why you are there. And so you'll hear on Sir's count, you will work your way up to my left boot, service it in whatever way you believe that should be. And that is in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And 0 means go. And if someone moves before 0, it's like, no, let's do that again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And it's control.
Yeah.
And that's my thing, is I like to be in control.
Yeah, I totally get that. Is there anything else you would like to share with the listeners? The Pig Solvent?
The Guys to Events, they're underwritten by Pig Solvents. And Pig Solvents is a brand of, we sell a brand of key cleaners. Why? Because you don't have a VCR. And if you're a millennial and you're listening, you might not even know what a VCR is. But so let's stop calling it VCR head cleaners. So I created a line of what I call key cleaners. And it's because everyone has keys and they're filthy.
Right. You need to have clean keys. Yeah.
And we talk about why and so one of them is called Keyhole. It opens stubborn holes. And the graphic on it is actually an ass with a Mary Tyler Moore type of multi. And if again, go look up Mary Tyler Moore, a multicolored sequence, and then the key is right on the asshole. And the circle around the top says keyhole open. And of course, we also have deep, which is the same as the deep event. One of our friends that we were co-sponsors with at Claw. So we are the registration sponsor at Claw 21, the leather annual weekend.
Cleveland Leather Annual Weekend. And is that for both the Cleveland one and the LA one?
We have been for both, yes. Our first foray was in LA, and then we were the registration sponsor for Cleveland, and we'll be back in Thanksgiving weekend as well. One of the...
well, I plan to be there also.
Excellent. Yeah, so we also... Pig Daddy is another one of the brands, and oddly, Lily. And Lily, the logo on Lily is a calla lily that transitions into a flogger. And 15% of solvent sales are actually in traditionally female names. And so we created Lily to be a key cleaner for a market that we think is underserved.
Cool.
So yeah, Pig Solvents is the underwriting group for all of this, and it's my company, so I get to have fun. So are you going to come to Mount, Robert?
Am I going to come to Mount? I am still struggling with that.
Why? What is the biggest struggle? What aspect of it is causing you to not want to go? Being fucked by 60 different guys?
Well, I don't think I would last through 6. Did you say 6 or 60?
60.
No, that's not happening.
The last event over the multiple days of Mount, we had over 180 guys there. So you want to talk about a party? All kinds of fun.
All right.
Is it the anonymity?
Well, the anonymity works for me. The hottest sex I ever had, and I'm talking about penetrative sex, not a BDSM scene like flogging. I would say the hottest was when a dom buddy of mine tied me up and had different friends of his come over and fuck me during the afternoon, and I was blindfolded, and to this day I don't know who they were. And it really worked for me. But that was with a dom selectively choosing who's going inside me. To anyone listening who's going to the next mount event, you might see my ass there. We'll see.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
Sir Tim, thank you very much for being on Sexual Heroes today.
It's been a pleasure.
For information with links about a guest on Sexual Heroes, visit the show notes. And please be sure to follow me on Twitter @RobertBlackXXX. Thanks for listening.